Ho, ho, ho! This year, Santa and the other gangster rappers are slaying their look. They've got the coolest swag this side of the North Pole. No cap. Okay, enough silliness. It's time to get to work on these transfers. Uh, on these cookies. We've already made royal icing transfers. You can see them down there on the plate or on the sheet of acetate. I am recording this late at night, so I am sorry for any mistakes. So right now, I'm wanting the background of these cookies to have some kind of texture on them. And I'm not exactly sure. I'm kind of just experimenting. I wanted a black background just because I think it kind of goes with the theme of being, you know, Santa's bringing some style this year to his Christmas game, and the whole crew is. I mean, Mrs. Claus has it going on, the reindeer, the elf, all of them. So I am attempting to, I was going to scrape over the black icing there on the black cookies you see, and that wasn't really leaving the texture that I wanted. So what I did was I ended up letting my black blood icing crust over, and then after it crusted over, I used that cake scraper that you see me using that has kind of a rigid edge on one side, a zigzag edge, and I used that and just kind of hammered away at that crusted over royal icing. And it really gave it like a glimmery, um, just like a ritzy type texture. I don't know how to describe it, but I really liked it. And probably the best part was that it is simple. It is so easy to do. I mean, you don't even have to have your flood looking good to be able to get this incredible background. Just flood your cookies, let it crust over so that it's dry to the touch, and then use this little zigzag cake scraper tool and dent it all in. I really like how it came out, and I'm definitely going to be using this technique in the future. So we're using these royal icing transfers, and how I made these is I printed off the sheet that you see up on the left side of the video, printed that off on my printer, and then I just put it under the sheet of acetate and had it on a tray, and then I piped my little characters on top of the acetate. So basically, you just trace the characters that are that show through the sheet, and the key is not to move your transfers until they are completely dry. So I did these on this tray and left them on the tray until they were completely dry. Do not try to move them off of anything to a different tray or a cookie sheet or anything. They need to stay on a solid surface until they are completely dry. And that the amount of time it's going to take for that to happen is just going to vary depending on where you're located, how much water you put in your royal icing, and um, your temperature, how much humidity you have in the air. You can dry these out faster in a dehydrator, or my oven has a dehydrator mode on it. I will turn that on, let it heat up. I think it's 200 degrees, or maybe it's 150. And then I turn it off and then put my tray in there and just let them stay in there. You also don't want that to heat them up too much because it will cause them to get cracks in them. I'm just assembling these. I made the glasses separate because I wanted it to have that 3D element to it. And so I'm just taking the glasses off and putting a little royal icing on the back, just enough so that it will stick to the faces of our little people here. I did make the rims of these glasses black, and then I used a metallic, um, it's not luster dust, it's already mixed. It's in a liquid form. I'll have it linked down below with my cookie supplies and stuff. Um, but then I brushed that on after everything was completely dry. And for the lenses of the glasses, I used a luster dust called Mermaid because I thought it would give it that kind of mirrored image, or that mirrored look. Like you can get sunglasses that have the mirrored lenses. And I did the mermaid color for the lens. And then after it dried, I used poppy paint. There you have a shine paint that makes anything really shiny. And so I use that on the lenses also to kind of give them that reflective, shiny type look. I mean, these guys have some serious drip going on. I am trying to keep up with the youngsters with my vocabulary, if you can't tell. I think it's kind of funny. And I mean, Christmas is the time to be a kid again. And my kids, they come home with all these different words all the time. And they're probably going to watch this and say I didn't use most of them right, but that's okay. I'm having fun with it. That's the whole point. And these are just some fun Christmas cookies to make. I mean, you got Santa, he is the boss with style. Mrs. Claus, she's just the queen of the North Pole. She's rocking it harder than Santa. She's making all the cookies and making sure Santa is is good to go for Christmas. You guys know how it is if you're married and you make sure your husband is taken care of and good to go. Mrs. Claus, she is rocking it harder than Santa. And then you got the reindeer, cool and just keeping everything running smoothly. And then the elf, he's just got this mischievous look in his eye. He's ready to bring the party vibes. Speaking of which, our elves came back yesterday from the North Pole. Do you guys have elves at your house? Well, our elves brought Santa's favorite nuts. Do you know what that would be? They brought Santa's favorite nuts. And I'm going to guess, and you can put the comment down below what your guess is. But they had our elves left sticky notes all over the table and candlesticks, and two of them were hanging from the light fixture with notes on them. And the kids had to guess what Santa's favorite nuts were. One of the biggest things I love about using transfers like this is that you can get away from purchasing a cookie cutter for every shape there is. I mean, it's cute when you can use a cookie cutter that's the exact shape of what you're making. And I have several. I mean, I have plenty of cookie cutters, but I will say a lot of my cookie cutters are plaque type shapes that are versatile and you can make lots of things out of them. Or you can use transfers and simply just print off your pictures and make the transfers and then put them on your cookies. And you can have fun with the background this way. I just love it. I love transfers so much. I think it is such a good idea. I mean, I do have a projector I use for my cookies, which I'm thinking about doing a video about that. Let me know if you guys would like to see a video about my cookie projector, and how I use it and set it up. But so here in the video, you can see I am putting the gold splatter on the cookies. And that's how I do that is I just put some on a paintbrush and then run my paintbrush up and down something else. Sometimes it's a fork, sometimes it's the another paintbrush, sometimes it's the bristles of something, whatever works. But that's kind of how you do it to get that splattered paint effect on the background. But back to why I love royal icing transfer so much. That is why, because I don't have to order a cookie cutter, pay for a cookie cutter, wait for a cookie cutter to arrive, and then keep track of that cookie cutter and what it actually is. I mean, I can't tell you how many posts I've seen on Facebook alone from cookiers that have cookie cutters and they don't know what exactly it is. And I did not know this because I've never been to Cookie Con, even though I would love to go. Um, they have an event type thing at Cookie Con, which I've never been there, so I'm just going to describe it how I saw it online. But basically, it looks like a huge conglomeration of mystery cookie cutters, and people pick one out and design a cookie, make a cookie, and of course, whatever they make is not actually what that cookie cutter was intended for, more than likely. It's a test on their creativity, and then they have a competition for it. Um, I don't remember what the one was from the last Cookie Con that won, but it was really good. So now we have our little elf. We're going to attach these on our cookies, and I'm just putting a little royal icing on the back to attach them. You don't want a lot. This is going to be a little more forgiving because we're using this black icing in our background. It's already uneven. So if a little icing squishes out from behind the transfer, it's not going to matter so much. However, when you put this down on your cookie, you don't want to press it down onto your cookie because they will crack. And that is a problem that people have with royal icing transfers is them breaking. But if you leave them on your tray until they are completely dry, if you pipe your icing thick enough and don't have just like these little thin, crispy things, and you don't press down on them when you put them on your cookie. I mean, you do have to lightly press them, but I mean, don't press them down like you're stamping it. That's what I mean. Just lightly press it so that it makes contact with your cookie. And that's good enough. You can even put the transfers on wet flood icing instead of waiting for it to crust. However, I wanted to have a textured background on these cookies, and so that is why I'm doing it this way. So the whole idea of um, the glasses on all of the characters. Okay, so side note, here I am fixing this reindeer's ears because they broke off. The reason they broke off is because they are delicate little shapes projecting off of the main shape. And you're going to have that. But the good thing about these transfers is if they do break, you can put them back together just like a puzzle and glue them down to your cookie with your icing, and nobody's even going to know. I mean, I put these cookies back on this reindeer, you can't even notice it. So I got this idea of using the gold rimmed glasses on all of the characters just because I think it's really fun when you pair things that are very different together. I think it just creates a different element and creates something unexpected. I mean, Christmas, you're usually thinking of like warm, cozy vibes and traditional, nostalgic type of things. And adding these gold rimmed mirrored lenses on these traditional Christmas characters gives it a whole new element of fun. I just love it. So, my cookies that I am putting these on are gingerbread cookies. And I love gingerbread. Do you like gingerbread? I love gingerbread cookies. Like, it is so good. It is dangerous for me to have gingerbread cookie dough in my freezer. That's all I'm going to say. It is a dangerous thing. Did you notice the background on that when I kind of moved it around? That's the poppy paint I was talking about. I'm showing it right there. But it's called Shine or Super Shine, and it's by Poppy Paint. And you just brush it on with a paintbrush, let it dry, and it gives it a super shiny finish. It's like almost makes it look like glass. Another thing I like using this poppy paint on, I actually just started using this. I've seen other people use it and have been curious to try it, so I got it. But another thing I did use this poppy paint on was on a set of birthday cookies, and on one of the cookies I made a um, balloon that was the number that they were turning 8, and so I made a balloon that look like the puffy number 8 balloons. You know how you can get those. And so after I piped it on, I actually took some, I think I used the pearl luster dust and like dry brushed it onto the 8. I did a hot pink 8. Used the pearl luster dust and brushed it on the 8 after it was dry, and then took the poppy paint and brushed over that. Oh my god, it looked so good. It looked like a balloon. No kidding. Like, it just had a pretty sheen to it. It was really cool. I need to do some more of those. So I'm just putting this poppy paint on now. When you do the luster dust on these, you may have to let it dry a little bit in between coats because just one coat of the mermaid wasn't going to cut it. And if you just keep brushing it on, then it just starts taking off the paint. So, or your luster dust, whatever, it just starts taking it off. So you just have to put thin layers and let it dry. I love using royal icing transfers because I can sit and make my transfers. You know what I usually do is I grab a tray or a cookie sheet and put my icing on it that I need, my acetate sheet, my printed out sheets, and everything. And I usually go sit on the couch and turn a movie on and type my little characters or whatever I'm doing, letters, numbers, anything, um, and then let them dry. And then you can make your cookies. Your cookies are fresh out of the oven, freshly frosted, and you don't have a bunch of cookies sitting around waiting to be decorated. You have fresh cookies and you put your icing on, put your transfers on. Isn't that so cute? Isn't he so freaking cute? He is. His beard is so cute. And I love Mrs. Claus's hair. And I love the reindeer. He looks tough. And the elf, well, he's just an elf. What are you going to say about that? I think that Santa Claus is going to love these cookies at my house Maybe he'll even take one back to Mrs. Claus or share them with the reindeer. Hopefully, our elves don't get into them before Santa gets here. Oh, and the answer to my little riddle at the beginning about what are Santa's favorite nuts? Donuts! Our elves brought donuts this morning when they came back.